My in-laws said, "We're taking the family to Europe," but when the bill came, they all looked at me and my husband. The restaurant was one of those places with cloth napkins and wine lists thicker than phone books. My father-in-law had insisted on it to celebrate the big announcement. 10 of us sat around that table. His parents, his 2 sisters and their husbands, his brother and us. "This is going to be the trip of a lifetime," my mother-in-law had gushed, passing around photos of villas in Tuscany on her iPad. 2 whole weeks. The entire family together. She squeezed my hand like we were best friends, though she'd spent the last 3 years calling me what's her name at family gatherings. Sometimes she'd just point at me and say her. The waiter brought the check in a leather folder. $847 for one dinner. My father-in-law opened it, glanced at the total, then slid it directly in front of my husband. His sisters suddenly became very interested in their phones. His brother excused himself to the bathroom. The timing was almost perfectly choreographed. "Well," my father-in-law said, leaning back in his chair with that smile I'd learned to hate, "you two have been talking about wanting to spend more time with family." My husband's face went pale. We'd been saving for a down payment on a house. Our account had exactly $23,400 in it. Every dollar earned through double shifts and skipped vacations. "Dad, we didn't know this was going to..." "The Europe trip," my mother-in-law interrupted sweetly. "We figured since you don't have kids yet, you have more disposable income. Everyone else has real expenses. Private school tuition, mortgages, country club dues. You understand how it is." We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above a dry cleaner. His sister owned a 4-story brownstone in the suburbs with a 3-car garage. But somehow, we were the ones with disposable income. "How much is the trip?" I asked quietly. "About $8,000 per couple," his brother's wife chimed in, returned from wherever she'd been hiding. "That includes flights, hotels, and activities. But obviously you're covering tonight too since you suggested this restaurant." I hadn't suggested anything. His mother had texted me the address that morning with, "Be there at 7, dress nice." My husband looked at me. I could see him calculating, trying to figure out how to say no without causing World War III. But I was done calculating. Done with the casual digs about us being childless and therefore less important. Done with being excluded from family photos and being asked to split costs. Done with his mother calling me what's her name while expecting me to fund her entire Italian fantasy. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and pulled out my wallet. I placed exactly $80 on the table, our portion of the meal with tip, and looked at my husband. "Coming?" His family stared. His father's face turned an interesting shade of red. "You can't just..." His mother started. "We can't afford an $8,000 trip," I said simply. "We're saving for a house. If you want to go to Europe, that's wonderful. Have an amazing time. But we won't be joining you, and we won't be paying for anyone else to go either." The walk to the car was silent. I halfway expected my husband to go back inside, to apologize, to make excuses for my rude behavior. Instead, he opened my door, got in the driver's seat, and started laughing. Not a nervous laugh, a real one. "I should have done that years ago," he said. "God, that felt so good." That's 3 days ago. This morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and 23 long texts. My sister-in-law left a voicemail explaining that they'd found a cheaper option in Portugal instead. Only $4,000 per couple. Wasn't that generous? They'd even let us pay in installments. Then my mother-in-law sent a text. Just 5 words that made my blood run very cold. "Dad's will was updated yesterday." I stared at my phone screen until the words blurred. My husband was in the shower, singing off-key like nothing had happened, like his mother hadn't just dropped a nuclear bomb into our morning. The thing about my father-in-law was simple. He had money, real money, the kind that bought silence and loyalty and made grown adults perform like trained seals for the promise of inheritance. His construction company had been worth $4.3 million when he sold it 5 years ago. Since then, he'd been living off investments and rental properties, playing patriarch like it was a full-time job. And the will. God, the will. It hung over every family gathering like a storm cloud. Nobody talked about it directly, but everybody knew. His oldest daughter, Vivian, had gotten herself written out twice already. Once for marrying someone he didn't approve of. Once for questioning his political views at Thanksgiving. She'd crawled back both times, apologizing, performing the required penance. Now she was back in the will with a projected $800,000 inheritance. His younger daughter, Rochelle, had never been written out. She was the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect husband, perfect children enrolled in perfect schools. She'd get at least $1.2 million, plus the lake house. His son, my husband, was supposed to get $900,000 and the rental properties. We'd seen the previous version of the will 2 years ago, when his father had pneumonia and thought he was dying. He'd gathered everyone to his hospital bed for a dramatic reading, like some twisted Victorian novel. Then he recovered and spent the next 6 months reminding everyone what they stood to lose. My husband turned off the shower. I could hear him humming. I called my mother-in-law back. She answered on the first ring. "So you saw my text?" she said. Not a question. "What did he change?" "Well," she drew out the word like taffy. "Your little performance at dinner upset him quite badly. He has a heart condition, you know. The stress could have killed him." My father-in-law's heart condition consisted of slightly elevated cholesterol. His doctor had told him to eat more vegetables. Instead, he'd turned it into a weapon, clutching his chest dramatically whenever someone disagreed with him. "What did he change?" "He removed you and my son from the will entirely. Everything will be split between Vivian and Rochelle now. And before you think he'll change his mind, you should know he had his lawyer write in a clause. If either of you contest it, the money goes to charity." My hands went numb. "He can't. He absolutely can. It's his money, dear. Maybe if you hadn't embarrassed him in public, humiliated him in front of his entire family, made him look like some kind of tyrant demanding money from his own children. We were asked to pay $8,000 for a trip we didn't even know about. You were invited to join your family. There's a difference. And now my son will lose everything because of your pride." She hung up. I sat on the edge of our bed, which we'd bought at a discount furniture store for $400. The frame creaked whenever we moved. In the next room, my husband was getting dressed for work, completely unaware that his mother had just blown up our future. $900,000, plus rental properties that generated roughly $6,000 a month, gone. I thought about our savings, $23,400. We'd been so proud of that number. It had taken us 4 years of sacrifice. 4 years of my husband working overtime at the engineering firm while I managed operations at a nonprofit that paid me $42,000 a year. 4 years of skipping vacations, driving a 2009 Honda Civic with a broken air conditioner, buying clothes from thrift stores. Also, we could afford a down payment on a starter home, something small, 2 bedrooms, maybe a tiny yard. We'd looked at listings every Sunday morning, dreaming about which rooms would be whose, where we'd put the furniture we didn't have yet. $400 could get us maybe a townhouse in a questionable neighborhood. Or we could keep renting above the dry cleaner, where the chemical smell seeped through the floorboards, and our downstairs neighbor played death metal until 2 a.m. every Thursday. But $900,000. That was different. That was a real house. College funds for future kids, retirement accounts, security. My husband walked into the bedroom wearing his work clothes, a cheap button-down I'd ironed the night before. He was smiling. He'd been smiling for 3 days straight ever since we walked out of that restaurant. "Morning," he said, kissing the top of my head. "You okay? You look pale." I handed him my phone. I watched his face as he read the text, watched the smile drain away like water, watched his hand start to shake. "Mom called," I said quietly. "We're out, completely. Everything goes to your sisters now." He sat down hard on the bed. The frame creaked. "Because of the restaurant," he said. Not a question. "Because we didn't agree to pay for their vacation." He was quiet for a long time. Then he stood up, grabbed his car keys, and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" "To talk to my father." "Babe, wait." But he was already gone. I heard his car start, heard him peel out of the parking lot with more aggression than our ancient Civic could really handle. I should have stopped him. Should have told him that begging never worked with his father, that apologizing would just prove we were weak, that his dad would make him crawl and humiliate himself, and maybe let him back in the will with a reduced amount, just enough to keep us desperate. But I was tired. So tired of this family and their games. My phone buzzed. My sister-in-law, Vivian. "I heard about the will," her text said. "That's really rough. But honestly, you guys brought this on yourselves. Family comes first. Maybe this will teach you some perspective." Then Rochelle. "Dad's really hurt. He just wanted us all to spend time together. I hope you're happy." Then my husband's brother, Timothy. "Dude, what were you thinking? $900K gone because you couldn't pay for one trip?" None of them mentioned that they'd expected us to pay $8,000. None of them remembered sliding that check toward us like we were the family ATM. None of them acknowledged that we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, while they owned houses worth more than most people earned in a lifetime. I got dressed for work, brushed my teeth, made coffee in our cheap Mr. Coffee machine that leaked from the bottom. Everything felt surreal, like I was watching myself from a distance. My husband called at 10 a.m. "He won't see me," he said. His voice was flat. I drove to their house. Mom answered the door and said Dad was too upset to talk, that he needed time to cool down, that maybe in a few weeks if I apologized properly, he'd consider meeting with. "Did you apologize?" I tried. Mom shut the door in my face. I closed my office door so my coworkers wouldn't hear. "Come home. We'll figure this out." There's nothing to figure out. I just lost $900,000 because I laughed in a parking lot. You lost it because your father is a controlling asshole who uses money to manipulate his children? That's easy for you to say. Your parents don't have anything to manipulate you with. The words hit like a slap. My parents were both gone. Dad from cancer when I was 19. Mom from a stroke 3 years later. They'd left me nothing because they'd had nothing. Just medical debt and a paid-off Toyota Camry that lasted 6 months before the transmission died. "I'll call you later," he said, and hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at spreadsheets I couldn't process. My boss knocked twice, asking if I was feeling all right. I told her I had a migraine. She let me leave early. When I got home, my husband wasn't there. His car was gone. He didn't answer my calls. He came back at 8 p.m., smelling like beer. "I went to see Timothy," he said, dropping his keys on our rickety IKEA table. Thought maybe he could talk to Dad for me. Know what he said? He said I should just apologize to you, blame everything on you, tell Dad it was all your idea and you pressured me into leaving. That's what he wants you to do? That's what they all want me to do. Vivian called me while I was there, said the same thing. If I divorce you and apologize, Dad will probably put me back in the will. Maybe not the full amount, but something. The room went very quiet. "Are you considering it?" I asked. He looked at me for a long time. "Do you know what $900,000 would mean for us? What kind of life we could have without me?" I didn't say that. "You didn't have to." He ran his hands through his hair. "I'm going to bed." He slept on the couch that night, or tried to. I could hear him tossing and turning, the old cushions squeaking with every movement. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, doing math. If we saved aggressively, really cut back, maybe we could have $40,000 in 3 more years. That plus a FHA loan might get us a small condo. We'd be in our 30s by then. Older parents? If we ever decided to have kids. No safety net, no backup plan. Or he could divorce me. Apologize to his father. Get back in the will. Find someone his parents actually approved of. Someone who knew how to smile and nod and pay for things quietly without making a scene. I got up at 3 a.m. and found him awake on the couch, phone in his hand. "What are you looking at?" I asked. He turned the screen toward me. Zillow listings, houses in nice neighborhoods with good school districts, 4 bedrooms, actual yards, attached garages. "We could have had this," he said quietly. "We still can. Just takes longer. I'm 32. I'm tired of living like a college student. I'm tired of our car breaking down every other month. I'm tired of hearing our neighbors fight through paper-thin walls. I'm tired of wearing the same 4 shirts to work because we can't afford anything else. So what do you want to do? He was quiet for a long time. I don't know. The next morning, I called in sick to work. My husband went to his job without saying goodbye. I spent the day researching lawyers, trying to understand if there was any legal recourse. Everything I read said the same thing. Unless we could prove mental incapacity or fraud, our father-in-law had every right to leave his money to whoever he wanted, and the no contest clause meant that if we challenged it and lost, we'd lose everything and probably rack up thousands in legal fees. My husband came home at lunch. He'd never done that before. I talked to my dad, he said, on the phone. He agreed to see us both tomorrow night, at their house, for dinner. What did you tell him? That we wanted to apologize. Something cold settled in my stomach. We? He wants you there too. Mom insists on it. She said if you apologize sincerely, really explain how wrong you were, they might consider forgiving us. Forgiving us for what? Setting a boundary? For embarrassing them? For making them look bad in front of the whole family? For being disrespectful and ungrateful after everything they've done for us? What have they done for us? He threw his keys on the table. They skidded across and landed on the floor. They paid for our wedding. They bought us dishes and towels and sheets when we moved into our first apartment. They've helped us out more times than I can count. They paid for half the wedding. We paid the other half. And those dishes and towels were hand-me-downs from your sister that she didn't want anymore. The sheets had stains. Jesus Christ, why do you always have to keep score? Because someone has to. Because they're rewriting history and you're letting them. He picked up his keys. I'm going back to work. Are you seriously expecting me to go apologize tomorrow? I'm expecting you to care about our future. He left. Didn't come home until after 9 p.m. We ate dinner in silence, microwaved leftovers that tasted like cardboard. That night, lying next to him in bed, I whispered, I'm not going. What? To dinner tomorrow. I'm not apologizing for having self-respect. He turned on the bedside lamp. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You're willing to throw away $900,000 because you're too proud to say you're sorry? I'm willing to throw away $900,000 because it's not actually ours. It's a carrot your father uses to control all of you. And the second we apologize, he'll know he can make us do anything. We'll spend the rest of his life performing for him, hoping he doesn't change the will again. That's not... When's the last time your father gave you anything without strings attached? When's the last time he did something kind without expecting payback? My husband stared at the ceiling. He's always been tough. That's just how he is. Tough is having high standards. Tough is pushing your kids to succeed. This is something else. This is manipulation. And if we go tomorrow and grovel, we're telling him it works. So what's your solution? We just accept being poor forever? We're not poor. We have jobs. We have savings. We have each other. That's easy to say when you grew up with nothing. You don't know what it's like to have everything and then lose it. You're right. I don't. My parents couldn't afford to manipulate me. They loved me without conditions because that's all they had to give. He turned off the light. I'm going tomorrow, with or without you. Then go. We lay back to back, not touching, the space between us feeling like miles. I woke up the next morning and he was already gone. Left for work early without breakfast. I found a note on the table. Dinner's at 7. Please come. I went to work. Tried to focus. Failed miserably. My boss asked me 3 times if I needed to go home. I told her I was fine. At 5 p.m., I sat in my car in the parking lot, keys in the ignition. I could drive to his parents' house. I could walk in. I could say I was sorry for causing a scene, sorry for being difficult, sorry for not understanding that family means financial obligation. I could smile while his mother looked at me with that satisfied smirk. I could nod while his father explained how disappointed he'd been in our behavior. I could listen to his sisters talk about how they knew I'd come around eventually, and maybe we'd get back in the will. Maybe. Or maybe this was just the first test. Maybe next month there'd be another demand, another expectation, another price to pay for their approval. I drove home instead. At 6:45, my husband called. Where are you? Home. Are you coming? No. They're waiting for you. Mom set a place at the table. She made your favorite dessert. I don't have a favorite dessert. She doesn't know anything about me except that I'm the woman who married you. Please, I'm begging you. Just come and apologize. We can go back to normal. This is normal. This has always been normal. You were just too close to see it. He hung up. I sat in our apartment alone, eating scrambled eggs for dinner, listening to the dry cleaner close downstairs. At 9:30, I heard his car pull up, heard him climb the stairs slowly like each step hurt. He came in and didn't look at me, just went straight to the bedroom. I followed him. How was dinner? They wanted to know where you were. What did you tell them? That you were sick. Mom said it was very convenient, you getting sick right before your apology. Dad said he'd give you one more chance. Sunday dinner, this weekend, final opportunity. And if I don't go, then I'm choosing between you and my entire family. You shouldn't have to choose. That's the whole problem. He pulled off his tie. They asked me something tonight. What? They asked if you were trying to isolate me from my family. If you were one of those controlling wives who drives a wedge between a man and his relatives. Mom even said she'd read articles about it. How abusive partners cut people off from their support systems. I felt like I'd been punched. And what did you say? I didn't say anything. I just sat there while they talked about you like you were some kind of villain, and I didn't defend you. Why not? Because I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of being caught in the middle. I'm tired of losing. So you're blaming me now, just like they want you to. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just stating facts. Before we got married, I had a family. Now I don't. You still have a family. They're just holding their love hostage until you pay the ransom. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. What if you're wrong? What if they're not manipulative assholes? What if we really did embarrass them and owe them an apology? Then apologize. Go back Sunday. Grovel. See what it gets you. Without you. Without me. He sat on the edge of our bed. Is this really worth it to you? Your pride is worth more than our marriage? This isn't about pride. This is about not letting someone else dictate how we live our lives. They're not dictating anything. They're just asking for respect. Respect goes both ways. When's the last time they respected us? When's the last time they treated us like adults instead of children playing house? He didn't answer. That weekend, he went to Sunday dinner alone. Came back 4 hours later, smelling like his mother's perfume and his father's cigar smoke. How was it? I asked. Fine. Did they put you back in the will? Dad says he's considering it. I have to prove I'm serious about being part of the family again. And how do you do that? They want me to visit more. Every Sunday dinner, help Dad with some projects around their house, show up for family events. Without me, they think we need some time apart to evaluate our marriage. They want you to leave me. They want what's best for me, which is leaving me. He went quiet. Then, maybe they're right. Maybe we rushed into this. We got married after 18 months. Maybe we didn't really know each other. I know you. I know you're scared. I know your father has been playing this game your whole life and you're exhausted. But walking away from me won't make him stop. He'll just find new ways to control you. Or maybe he'll finally be proud of me. That night, I slept in our bed alone. He took the couch again. It became a pattern. He'd go to his parents every Sunday, come home late, sleep on the couch. We'd go days without talking beyond basic logistics. Did you pay the electric bill? We're out of milk. Your mother called. At work, I threw myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for every assignment. Anything to avoid coming home to an apartment that felt like a tomb. 6 weeks after the restaurant incident, my husband asked me to sit down, said he needed to talk. I'm moving out, he said. Just temporarily. I need some space to think. Where are you going? My parents have a guest house. Mom offered. Of course she did. This isn't about them. This is about us. We're not working. We're not working because you're letting them destroy us from the inside. We're not working because you can't let anything go. You're still hung up on a dinner from 2 months ago. I'm hung up on the principle, on not being someone's puppet. And I'm hung up on losing everything I grew up with. My family, my inheritance, my future. You haven't lost me, haven't I? He moved out that weekend, took his clothes, his laptop, his collection of engineering textbooks, left the furniture because it was cheap and broken anyway. I sat in the apartment alone, looked at the empty space where his dresser had been, the closet with my clothes pushed to one side, his hangers vacant. My phone buzzed. His mother. I heard he moved out. I just want you to know, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong for our son. Some people aren't meant to be together. It's better to realize it now before you have children and make everything more complicated. I didn't respond. She texted again. He'll need to file for divorce eventually. I hope you'll be gracious about it. Not ask for anything you're not entitled to. Our family has lawyers, very good lawyers. It would be in your best interest to sign whatever papers he brings you. I blocked her number. Then I unblocked it and typed, tell your son if he wants a divorce, he can ask me himself, not send his mommy to do it. She didn't respond. 3 months went by. 3 months of living alone, eating alone, sleeping in a bed that felt too big. My husband texted occasionally, asking about mail, about tax documents, about our shared bank account, never about us. I started looking at apartments I could afford on my salary alone, studio spaces in worse neighborhoods, basements with small windows. Everything was depressing. Then one morning, I got a call from Vivian, his sister. I need to talk to you, she said. In person. Can we meet for coffee? Why would I meet with you? Because you need to know what's really happening. She picked the place. A Starbucks near her house, which meant I had to drive 40 minutes. She was already there when I arrived, wearing clothes that cost more than my monthly rent. Thanks for coming, she said. What do you want? She stirred her latte. Mom and Dad are planning something. I thought you should know. Why would you tell me? Because what they're doing is wrong, and I'm tired of pretending it's okay. I waited. They've been introducing him to women, Vivian said quietly. Daughters of their friends. Suitable women. Women with the right background, the right education, the right family. My stomach dropped. We're still married. They know. They don't care. They're treating it like the marriage is already over. Like you're already gone. Mom's been talking about which of these women would make the best daughter-in-law. Which ones would fit into the family better. Why are you telling me this? She looked me in the eye. Because they did the same thing to me. 15 years ago. I was married to someone they didn't approve of. Someone who didn't come from money. They did exactly this. Isolated us. Turned my husband against me. Introduced him to other women. Within 6 months we were divorced. But you're remarried. To someone they approve of. Leonard. She said his name like it tasted bad. Yes. Perfect Leonard with his perfect job and his perfect pedigree. We've been married 12 years. I've been miserable for 12 years. But I'm back in the will, so I guess that's what matters. Then why are you here? Why warn me? Because I wish someone had warned me. I wish someone had told me that once you let them win, they never stop winning. That you spend the rest of your life trying to earn approval that will never actually come. She stood up. He really loved you, you know, before all this. I saw the way he looked at you at your wedding, like you were the only person in the room. I hadn't seen him that happy since we were kids. He doesn't look at me like that anymore. Because they broke him. It's what they do. They find your weakness and they push until you crack. His weakness was wanting his father's approval. He's been chasing it his whole life. She left. I sat there with my coffee getting cold, watching people come and go, happy couples, families with young children, old men reading newspapers alone. I went home and found a manila envelope taped to my door. Inside were divorce papers, standard dissolution of marriage. No kids, no property, no assets worth fighting over. Just a signature line and a request to split our savings account 50-50. At the bottom, a post-it note in my husband's handwriting. I'm sorry, this is for the best. I called him. He didn't answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I drove to his parents' house, parked outside the guest house in back, saw lights on, knocked on the door. His mother answered. She was in the guest house. Not him. He doesn't want to see you, she said. He can tell me that himself. He's not here. He went to dinner with the Hartwell's daughter. Lovely girl. Studied law at Yale. Her father owns half the downtown. She smiled. You can leave the papers with me. I'll make sure he gets them signed and filed. I wanted to scream. Wanted to tell her exactly what I thought of her and her manipulation and her horrible little kingdom. Instead, I got back in my car and drove home. I sat at our cheap IKEA table with the divorce papers spread in front of me. Our whole marriage reduced to 8 pages of legal language. Everything we'd built erased by a few signatures. 4 years together. 4 years of inside jokes and lazy Sunday mornings and learning how each other liked their coffee. 4 years of being a team, destroyed in 3 months by a family that saw me as an obstacle instead of a person. I thought about signing, about making it easy, about walking away and starting over somewhere else, maybe getting a job in another city, maybe disappearing completely from their lives. Then I thought about Vivian, miserable in her approved marriage, trapped by money and expectations. I thought about my husband, being paraded in front of eligible women like a prize bull. I thought about what his father would do next, after this work, who he'd control, how he'd use his power. And I got angry, really, truly angry. I didn't sign the papers. Instead, I hired a lawyer. Not for the divorce, for something else. It took 2 weeks and $3,000 I couldn't afford. But my lawyer found something interesting. My father-in-law's will, the updated one that cut us out, it had a problem, a legal problem. When he changed it in a fit of anger, he'd used an online service instead of his regular attorney. Wanted it done fast, didn't want to wait for an appointment or explain his reasoning. Just wanted to punish us immediately. But the online service hadn't followed proper protocol. The witnesses weren't properly vetted. The signatures weren't notarized correctly. One of the witnesses was his housekeeper, someone who potentially benefited from the will. The whole thing was a mess. It wouldn't hold up in probate. My lawyer smiled when he told me, if your father-in-law died tomorrow, this will would be thrown out. The previous will, the one that included you and your husband, would be reinstated by default. Are you sure? Positive. I've seen this a dozen times. People get emotional, make quick changes, don't follow the rules. It invalidates everything. Should I tell them? That's up to you. But if I were in your position, I'd keep this information very, very quiet. I kept it quiet. I didn't sign the divorce papers. And I waited. 2 weeks later, my husband called. Actually called, not texted. Why haven't you signed? He asked. Because we're still married. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm not making it anything. You're the one who moved out. You're the one who filed. You want a divorce? Come talk to me yourself. Don't send papers through your mother. I can't. Why not? Because if I see you, I might... He trailed off. Might what? Might remember why I married you in the first place. The line went quiet. I could hear him breathing. Are you happy? I asked. What? Living in their guest house. Going to dinners with pre-approved women. Having your whole life managed by your parents. Are you happy? I'm secure. That's not what I asked. He hung up. That night, Vivian called again. They're planning a party, she said. Next month, Dad's 70th birthday. Big celebration. They're announcing his retirement from managing his properties, passing control to someone else. Why are you telling me? Because they're announcing who gets what, making it public. Once it's announced in front of everyone, it'll be harder for him to change his mind again. And they're cutting him out too. Your husband. They're giving everything to me and Rochelle. Timothy gets nothing either, but he's been written out for years. Your husband thinks if he divorces you and plays nice, he'll get back in. But I saw the paperwork. Mom showed me. He's out permanently. Dad says he's too weak, too easily influenced, not fit to manage family assets. I felt sick. Does he know? Not yet. They're going to tell him at the party, in front of everyone. One final humiliation to teach him a lesson about loyalty. Why are you helping me? Because I'm tired of watching them destroy people, and because you're the only person who ever stood up to them. Maybe if you do it again, really do it, I'll find the courage to stand up too. She gave me the date and time of the party. I called my lawyer. Is there any way to challenge the will before someone dies? I asked. Not really. Not unless you can prove incompetence or fraud. What if I can prove the current will is invalid? Then you'd need to inform the probate court. But until he dies, there's no probate. The will is just a document. It doesn't mean anything until death. But if it's invalid, wouldn't the previous will take effect? Technically. But he could just create a new will that's properly executed. You'd be back where you started. Unless he doesn't know his current will is invalid. My lawyer was quiet. I can't advise you to withhold information that might affect someone's legal decisions. But you can't force me to share it either. No, I can't do that. I thanked him and hung up. The party was on a Saturday. My husband texted me that morning. Mom wants the papers signed before tonight. Says it would be awkward if people ask about you and we're still legally married. I didn't respond. At 6 p.m. I got dressed. Not in anything fancy. Just nice jeans and a sweater. I drove to my in-laws' house. Their driveway was full of expensive cars. Their house was lit up like Christmas. Through the windows, I could see people in cocktail attire, holding wine glasses, laughing. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. My mother-in-law answered. Her face went white. What are you doing here? I was invited. You absolutely were not. I'm still family. Still married to your son. So technically, I'm invited to all family functions. She tried to close the door. I put my foot in the way. Get out or I'll call the police. Call them. I'd love to explain why a married woman isn't allowed at her father-in-law's birthday party. She stared at me, then stepped aside. I walked in. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look. Vivian was by the window, her face a mixture of shock and something like hope. Rochelle looked ready to murder me. Timothy just looked confused. And my husband was standing next to a blonde woman in a designer dress holding her hand. My father-in-law stood up from his chair. What is she doing here? I came to celebrate, I said. Happy birthday. Get out of my house. Actually, I have something to share. Something everyone should probably hear. My mother-in-law moved toward me. If you think you can make a scene, I'm not making a scene. I'm sharing information. See, I hired a lawyer a few weeks ago, not for the divorce, for something else. I was curious about your updated will, the one you changed when you got angry at us. My father-in-law's face turned red. That's private family business. It would be, except it's not actually valid. The room went very still. What are you talking about? My mother-in-law said. The will you had changed? You used an online service. Didn't follow proper legal protocol. The witnesses weren't vetted correctly. One of them benefited from the will. The signatures weren't properly notarized. My lawyer says it would be thrown out immediately in probate. My father-in-law sat down hard. You're lying. I have the documentation. Would you like to see it? I pulled out a folder from my purse, handed it to him, watched him read it, watched his face go from red to gray. This means, I said to the room, that if he died tomorrow, the old will would be reinstated. The one that included me and my husband. The one that split everything between all 3 children, not just the daughters. Rochelle grabbed the papers from her father, read them. This can't be right. It is, I said. You can check with your own lawyers, or you can just believe me. My husband stepped away from the blonde woman. You're saying? I'm saying your father has been manipulating you for 3 months based on a will that doesn't legally exist. My father-in-law stood up, shaking. You had no right to investigate my private documents. I had every right. My husband is your heir. Your decisions affect our future. And you've been holding your invalid will over our heads like a weapon. Get out. His voice was quiet. Dangerous. Get out of my house right now. Gladly. But first, I have one more thing to say. I turned to my husband. They were going to cut you out anyway, tonight. They were going to announce it in front of everyone, that you're too weak to inherit anything, that you're not fit to manage family assets. Vivian told me. She saw the paperwork. My husband looked at his sister. Is that true? Vivian nodded slowly. I'm sorry. I tried to warn her so she could warn you. My mother-in-law moved toward Vivian. You betrayed your own family. No, Vivian said, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. You betrayed us. All of us. You've been playing us against each other our whole lives, using money like a weapon, making us perform for your approval. I'm done. I'm so done. She walked toward me, stood next to me. Whatever she's doing, I'm in. Rochelle looked between us and her parents. This is insane. You're both insane. Maybe, I said, or maybe we're just tired. I looked at my husband. The divorce papers? I'm not signing them. You want out? You'll have to fight for it. And while we're still married, I'm still your heir, still entitled to half of anything you inherit. So you might want to think carefully about whose side you're on. I walked out. Vivian followed me. Behind us, I could hear yelling, my father-in-law screaming, my mother-in-law crying, Rochelle defending them, Timothy trying to calm everyone down, and my husband, silent. Vivian and I sat in my car in the driveway, listening to the chaos inside. What happens now? She asked. I have no idea. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen. Or the stupidest. She laughed. Actually laughed. Same thing sometimes. We sat there for 20 minutes before my husband came out. He opened my passenger door, looked at Vivian, then at me. Can we talk? He said. Vivian got out, squeezed my hand, and walked to her own car. My husband got in. We sat in silence. Were you really not going to tell me? He finally asked. About the will being invalid? I was going to tell you, eventually, when you were ready to hear it. And when would that be? When you stopped letting them make decisions for you? He looked at his parents' house. They're furious. Dad's calling his lawyer right now. Mom's having what looks like a panic attack. Rochelle won't speak to either of us. Good. Good? Yeah, good. Let them be furious. Let them panic. Let them feel what it's like when they're not in control. This could destroy the whole family. The family was already destroyed. It's been destroyed for years. You were just too scared to admit it. He was quiet for a long time. That woman inside. The blonde. Her name is Patricia. Mom introduced us 6 weeks ago. She's nice, smart, from a good family, everything they want. Okay. I don't love her. Okay. I don't even like her that much. But I kept seeing her because I thought if I did everything right, eventually I'd feel something. And did you? No. I just felt empty, like I was watching someone else live my life. So why are you telling me this? He turned to look at me. Because I love you. I've always loved you. Even when I was too angry to admit it. Even when I convinced myself you were the problem. Even when I was holding her hand inside that party. Your parents will cut you off completely if you stay with me. I know. The will might be invalid now, but he'll fix it. He'll create a new one and make sure it's legal. You'll lose everything. I know. We'll be back to our 1-bedroom apartment and our broken car and our $23,400 in savings. Actually, it's down to $20,000. I've been paying rent to my parents. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You've been paying them rent? To live in their guest house? They said it would teach me responsibility. We both started laughing then. Real laughing. The kind that makes your stomach hurt. When we stopped, he took my hand. I'm sorry for all of it. For not defending you. For believing their version of events. For making you the villain when you were the only one being honest. I'm sorry too. For being stubborn. For making this harder. Your stubbornness saved us. If you'd signed those papers, I'd be in there right now. Trapped in a life I don't want. With people I don't love. Wondering where it all went wrong. So what do we do now? We go home. Our shitty apartment with the broken bed frame and the neighbor who plays death metal. And we start over. Your father will never forgive you. I know, but maybe that's okay. Maybe some people don't deserve forgiveness. We drove back to our apartment together. He moved his things back in that night. The closet looked fuller with his clothes. The bathroom less empty with his toothbrush. We lay in bed, our bodies not touching, both staring at the ceiling. I'm scared, he said. Me too. What if we can't make it without their help? Then we can't make it. But at least we'll fail on our own terms. He reached for my hand in the dark. No more Sunday dinners. No more Sunday dinners. No more performing for approval. No more performing. The next morning, his father called. My husband put it on speaker so I could hear. I've had my lawyer draw up a new will, his father said. Properly executed this time. You and your wife are excluded. Permanently. Everything goes to Rochelle. Vivian excluded herself by choosing you over family. Okay, my husband said. Okay, that's all you have to say? What else is there? You've made your decision. We've made ours. You're going to regret this. Both of you. When you're struggling to pay rent and watching your sisters live in luxury. When you have children you can't afford to send to good schools. When you're working until you're 70 because you have no retirement. You'll regret choosing pride over family? Maybe, but it'll be our regret, not yours. His father hung up. My husband turned off his phone. That felt good. Yeah? Yeah. 3 weeks later, Vivian called. She'd filed for divorce from Leonard. She'd moved out of their house and into an apartment across town. Her parents weren't speaking to her. Rochelle had called her a traitor. She'd lost her inheritance, her social standing, her entire support system. But I'm free, she said. For the first time in my adult life, I'm actually free. She asked if we wanted to have dinner, just the three of us. No performance, no judgment, just family. We met at a cheap Thai restaurant, the kind with plastic chairs and fluorescent lighting. Vivian showed up in jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair in a messy ponytail. She looked younger, lighter. I forgot what it felt like, she said over pad thai, to make my own choices, to not care what anyone thinks. It's terrifying, my husband said. Absolutely terrifying, she agreed. I love it. We talked for 3 hours about our parents and their control, about money and manipulation, about building lives that actually belonged to us. When we left, Vivian hugged us both. Thank you, she whispered, for showing me it was possible. 6 months passed. 6 months of living quietly, working hard, rebuilding our savings. We didn't hear from his parents, didn't see them at holidays, didn't get invited to family events. Rochelle sent a Christmas card, just her signature, no message. We took it as the peace offering it was. Timothy called once, asked if we were okay, said he missed us, but he didn't leave their orbit. Too scared, too dependent. We understood. My husband got a promotion at work. I got a raise. We started looking at houses again, small ones, fixer-uppers we could actually afford. It'll take longer, my husband said, looking at listings. Without their money, everything worth doing takes longer. We found a place. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Needed work, but had potential. We made an offer. It was accepted. On moving day, Vivian showed up with boxes and tape and muscles. Family helps family move, she said. Just the 3 of us. Carrying furniture and laughing and ordering pizza for dinner in an empty house. My husband's phone rang. His mother. He looked at me. You can answer, I said. He did. Put it on speaker. I heard you bought a house, his mother said. Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Silence. Your father had a heart attack last week, she said finally. Minor one. He's recovering. But it made us think about things. About family. About what matters. My husband waited. He wants to see you. Both of you. For dinner. No expectations. No manipulations. Just dinner. Mom, I know what we did. How we pushed. But your father's mortality is staring him in the face now, and he's realizing money doesn't keep you warm at night. Is he changing his will back? She hesitated. No, that's done. What's done is done. But maybe we can still be family. Maybe that can be enough. My husband looked at me. I shrugged. Your choice. He thought for a long time. Okay, dinner. But here, our house. Our terms. But your house isn't even furnished. Those are the terms. Take them or leave them. Another silence. We'll be there Sunday at 6. They came. His parents, dressed down in casual clothes, looking older than I remembered. His mother brought flowers. His father brought wine. We sat on camping chairs in our living room, eating takeout Chinese food from paper plates. The house smelled like fresh paint. The walls were half finished. It's nice, his mother said, looking around. Cozy. It's ours, my husband said. His father cleared his throat. I was wrong. About a lot of things. About how I used money. About what I expected from you. About her. He looked at me when he said it. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued. I don't even deserve it. But I wanted you to know I see it now. What I did. What I became. Why now? I asked. Why after everything? Because I was in that hospital bed. Tubes in my arms. Monitors beeping. And all I could think was that when I died, my children wouldn't come to my funeral. That I'd built this empire of money and control and manipulation, and in the end, I'd be buried by strangers. That's not, my husband started. It is. It's exactly true. I pushed all of you away. Vivian won't speak to me. You two were gone. Even Rochelle only visits out of obligation. Timothy pretends I don't exist. I was going to die alone, and it would have been entirely my fault. My mother-in-law took his hand. We want to try again. Differently this time. Without conditions. The will? My husband asked. Stays as it is. Rochelle gets everything. Consider it our punishment. We have to live knowing we gave everything to the only child who still tolerates us out of greed rather than love. It was harsh, but honest. We talked for hours. About boundaries and respect. About what family could mean without money. About starting over. When they left, his mother hugged me. Actually hugged me. I'm glad he married you, she whispered. You saved him. He saved himself, I said, but I hugged her back. Things weren't perfect after that. His father still tried to control things sometimes, old habits dying hard. His mother still made passive-aggressive comments about our modest lifestyle. But we'd set boundaries and we enforced them. Sunday dinners became optional. We went when we wanted, skipped them when we didn't. No guilt, no manipulation. Vivian started dating someone new, someone she chose, someone who made her laugh, someone her parents didn't approve of, which made her like him even more. Timothy slowly came around. started joining our dinners, started asking questions about how we'd done it, broken free. We told him the truth. It was terrifying and hard and worth it. 2 years later, my father-in-law died. Heart attack. Massive and sudden. He was 72. At the funeral, Rochelle showed up in designer black, crying into a handkerchief. She'd become his caretaker in his final years, managing his properties, handling his affairs. She'd earned every penny of her inheritance. The will was read. As promised, everything went to her. $3.8 million in assets, properties, investments, the lake house. She looked at us across the lawyer's office. He wanted me to tell you something. At the end, right before he died, he said he was proud of you, that you'd built something real, that you'd become the man he'd pretended to be. My husband cried then, not for the money, for the words he'd needed his whole life. Rochelle surprised us. She split the rental properties with us and Vivian, not because she had to, because she wanted to. He was wrong, she said, about everything, but especially about excluding you. You don't have to do this, my husband said. I know, that's why I am. We used our portion to pay off the house, put the rest in savings, kept working our jobs, kept living our modest life. But now it was ours, really ours, not bought with compromise or manipulation or surrender. My mother-in-law sold the main house, too big for one person, too many memories. She moved into a condo downtown, started taking art classes, made friends who didn't know about her money or her dead husband or her children's rebellion. She came for dinner once a month, brought grocery store flowers, and complimented our cooking. Sometimes she'd look around our small house with its mismatched furniture and photos on the walls and say, "This is what a home should look like." 5 years after the restaurant incident, I got pregnant. We'd finally felt stable enough to try. My husband cried when I showed him the test. Happy tears this time. His mother threw us a baby shower, small and intimate. Just close friends and the family members who'd survived our rebellion. Vivian brought books. Timothy brought a handmade crib he'd built himself. Rochelle brought practical things, diapers and wipes and a gift card for the pediatrician. My mother-in-law gave us an envelope. Inside was a check for $10,000. For the college fund, she said. No strings, I promise. You don't have to, I started. I want to. This baby gets a grandmother who doesn't manipulate, who doesn't control, who just loves. We named our daughter Vivian Rose. Named her after the sister who'd had the courage to break free, who'd showed us it was possible. My husband's father never met her. But sometimes I think about him in that hospital bed, realizing what mattered, hoping it wasn't too late. For us, it had been just in time. We still live in that first house, the 2-bedroom with the fixer-upper charm. We've painted it and fixed it and made it beautiful. Not expensive, not impressive, just ours. On Sundays, sometimes we have dinner with family. Sometimes we don't. We decide based on what we want, not what we owe. And every single time I drive past a fancy restaurant with cloth napkins and phone book wine lists, I remember walking out with $80 on the table and my husband following me into the parking lot. Best $80 I ever spent. The thing about inheritance is that it comes in different forms. Money is one kind, but freedom is another. Self-respect is another. The ability to look yourself in the mirror and know you didn't compromise who you were for a check. My daughter will inherit a modest house, a small college fund, no empire, but she'll inherit parents who chose each other over money, who chose authenticity over approval, who learned the hard way that love without conditions is the only kind worth having. She'll inherit the story of how her parents walked out of a restaurant and changed everything. And maybe, someday, when someone tries to manipulate her with money or power or family obligation, she'll remember that story. She'll remember it's okay to walk away. She'll remember that some prices are too high to pay. She'll remember that real wealth has nothing to do with what's in your bank account. And she'll know deep in her bones that she comes from people who chose hard over easy, real over fake, love over money, every single time. That's the inheritance that matters. That's what we'll leave behind. Not money or houses or villas in Tuscany, but the knowledge that standing up for yourself, even when it costs everything, is always worth it. Always.